Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening everyone, and welcome to the channel for the next run in the ever-expanding solo Pokemon Challenge series in Yellow version. Today we have what I think could be a really interesting challenge in front of us with Tentacruel. This giant jellyfish isn't a great physical attacker or defender, but just look at that massive special. Tentacruel is top 8 in special in Gen 1, tied with Kadabra and just behind the legendary birds. And it has good base speed too. All of this sets up for a strong special attacker for us, but as we take on our rival in the lab for the first time, we're going to see the first major hurdle that Tentacruel is going to face. And that's going to be the starting moves we have. We start off with Acid, Supersonic, and Wrap. I mean, we will win this battle pretty easily, and we're going to need to anyway because we need our rival to evolve into Jolteon because that's going to probably be our hardest matchup against Tentacruel. But this is going to be a tough start for our jellyfish. When this challenge came up on the wheel last time, I didn't realize that we didn't get a water move until level 22. That's not great to be sure. But wrapping things is great in Gen 1 Pokemon, so I think we will be okay overall, although it will probably be a very slow process to move forward in the early game. While we run around the early game, let's take a look at the rest of Tentacruel's learn set. And it's underwhelming, to say the least. At least we get Barrier, which could be good for badge boosting, and maybe Hydro Pump, but that isn't super accurate, so we're going to have to hope for some good TM and HM list, and thankfully, Tentacruel delivers here. Swords Dance, Ice Beam and Blizzard, Surf. What else could we ask for? Well, I mean, we could ask for Body Slam for one, but beggars can't be choosers, so let's jump ahead to the Rival 1A battle now and see how that goes. After a bit of training in Viridian Forest, we come in at level 10. We're pretty strong, but 2 acids isn't going to be enough to quite knock out the Spearow, so we get our accuracy lowered twice, thanks to some misclicks in there too. And then Eevee comes out, and this thing loves to use Sand Attack, but fortunately for us, our jellyfish not only is able to hit through the accuracy drops, but get some defense drops along the way, coming through clutch and eventually knocking out the Eevee for a relatively easy first try victory. Our rival will now be using Jolteon against us later in the run, and let's bring out that beautiful title sequence for this Tentacruel run. As a gentle reminder of which Pokemon will be used in this run if you haven't been paying attention to the start so far. I'd also like to remind you to subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment below to say how you think this will go and where Tentacruel will end up in the final tier list. But of course that's getting ahead of ourselves and we still have the run to complete, so let's get back at it straight away. We're going to come into this battle against Brock at level 11, and my strategy is going to be to use Confusion on the Geodude to reduce our damage taken and increase the damage taken when he hits himself. One major problem here is that Supersonic has terrible accuracy. Our Acid is also double resisted, so even with crits and defense drops, we aren't going to do much. So yeah, this does not go too well, as you can clearly see. This Geodude is going to be a huge pain to deal with. We're going to need to train up some more before attempting this again, so we battle the Light Years trainer and grind against wild Pokemon in the forest until we're level 13 and give it another go. This time, we get much better luck with our Supersonic, and between that and the realization that Wrap will do more damage than Acid thanks to being a multiple turn move, we end up actually taking down the Geodude on this attempt, and that's going to bring us to Onix for the first time. We're going to need some good luck from Supersonic, but apparently we used up all that luck against the Geodude, and not only does our Supersonic not hit consistently, we get hit with a 5-turn bind, and then a 4-turn bind to finish us off. Oh my goodness, that is not how I expected that to go. So, we head back to the forest to train some more before taking on Brock again. This time we come in at level 14 and we get the perfect storm of defense drops and confusion, and that quickly takes out the Geodude. We're actually going to be in a pretty good place once Onix comes out. Turns out we are now in a speed tie with the Rock Snake, and that makes things very interesting. The strategy here is basically hope for good things to happen. We need defense drops with Acid, and then Onix has to hit itself in Confusion. The Onyx go for Bide is best case scenario for this, and we do get a couple of Bides in this attempt. As it turns out, these Bides are all we will need, and it isn't pretty, but we are eventually going to be able to take down the Onyx. This strategy isn't pretty, but it is fairly effective. It is a little bit luck-based, a little bit more than I'd like, but when you're trying to get by Brock without having good moves, you really just have to work with what you have. So, we get the win, and we didn't even get taken to red health this time. Now we have the Boulder Badge, we can move on in our journey. Before we make our way to Mount Moon, you know we need to make a quick stop into the Pokemon Center to see a man about a fish. This fantastic deal on a Magikarp is always necessary in these runs, so we take the fish, put him into someone's PC, who is clearly going to be happy when they find this fish in their computer later, and jump ahead to Cerulean City, where we're going to take on Misty first. Misty has good AI, and we're water type, so she's only going to ever use Tackle. That's actually is a good play here though, because of our high special and low defense. After one misclick, we quickly use Acid to take out Staryu, and that's going to bring out Starmie. We have about half our health remaining, but Misty starts with a couple of defense boosts, and our Acid is dropping her defense just as fast thanks to some good luck. After she starts to attack, we've brought her star already into dangerous health, and since it doesn't get crits and mixes in another Harden, we're able to get a first try victory, earning our second badge. Most importantly, we're given the TM for Bubble Beam. This is a fantastic move and will be very beneficial for the run, starting with our rival when he challenges us to another battle on Nugget Bridge. Even though we're going to start out this battle with a Gen 1 miss, which is a 1 in 256 chance of happening, we end up one-shotting Spearow with Bubble Beam. Sandshrew and Rattata also will go down to a single Bubble Beam, and then Eevee comes out. It is able to tank a single Bubble Beam, but it can't stand up to a Water Gun to finish it off, and we have an easy win. We use Water Gun to save PP on Bubble Beam, which will leave us with enough Bubble Beam PP to make it through the trainers up north of town without having to return to the Pokemon Center. After that, it's time to make our way to the SS Anne, where we get to battle our rival once again. As most of the rival battles on the SS Anne are, this one is pretty similar to the last battle. So with 6 water moves in all, we take out 4 of our rivals' Pokemon. 3 of these are one-hit KOs, and yeah, it is really that simple of a win against rival number 3. That was really a simple battle, and much like the last run with Dragonite, Tentacruel is starting to pick up momentum now just around the SS Anne. However, we could be in for a rude awakening when we face Surge next. We're going to pick up Cut, teach it to our Charmander that we got for free, and head over to the Electric Leader's Gym. He's going to make us dig through trash before facing him, but by the power of magic, and by that I mean saving beforehand, we quickly make our way to him and his single Raichu. If we get hit by a Thunderbolt, I think we're going to be in trouble, so let's hope that doesn't happen. Okay, so we get outsped, Mega Punch misses, Bubble Beam gets a speed drop, great. We get a Bubble Beam crit with the hit, and then yeah, he uses an X speed, which kind of made sense to get the speed advantage back, but he was in red health, and we are able to take out Raichu pretty easily as he used a Growl after regaining the speed advantage. Easy win against Surge, and that's our 3rd badge, and we'll jump ahead to Celadon City. At the Celadon department store, we're going to do some shopping, and that includes buying some high-quality H2O for the little girl. In return for our kindness, we receive a wonderful thank you from the girl in the form of TM13 Ice Beam. We're going to teach this immediately, and while we were here, we also decided to be a big spender and get lemonade for the Saffron guards today. While I don't think Erica will be too much trouble, I know Giovanni will be much easier, so we head to our local Game Corner basement to battle Giovanni. Hopefully our type matchup against Giovanni will make this pretty easy. We're going to use Bubble Beam against Onyx, and it one-shots. Yeah, that crit didn't matter. Rhyhorn's out next, and again, that crit didn't matter either as for another Bubble Beam one-shot. Persian mixes things up by surviving the first Bubble Beam, but yeah, wasn't gonna ever be a problem for us as a second Bubble Beam finishes it off. I told you this would be a pretty easy win. Because our dig point is currently set in Lavender Town, I decide to do the Pokemon Tower next, which includes rival number 4. Will he be as easy as previous rival battles? Yes. Yes, he will. Spearow goes down to a single Ice Beam. Shelter is able to tank one Bubble Beam, but its special's bad, so we finish it off on the next one. Vulpix hits us with a quick attack before Bubble Beam finishes it off. Sandshrew also goes down to Bubble Beam, and Eevee tanks a Bubble Beam, but barely, only for us to finish it off with an Acid on the next turn. We probably could have used Ice Beam to one-shot the Eevee, but moving the cursor is hard work, so that was a pretty easy battle overall, and that's becoming a theme for Tentacruel so far, because the high base stats and good moves are now starting to make it a very powerful Pokemon. After clearing Pokemon Tower, we head back to Celadon to face Erica before heading down Cycling Road. Erica shouldn't be too difficult with Ice Beam, and it does take 2 to take out Tangela, but Weepin' Bell goes down to a single one. I don't think the crit mattered there, and since we take out Gloom without a crit, I think we were safe. Either way though, that battle wasn't too difficult, and we ended up beating Erica on the first try without taking any damage. With the Rainbow Badge in our possession, let's head down to Cycling Road and Fuchsia City, where we can further improve our Tentacruel in the Safari Zone. We pick up the Warden's Teeth before heading to the Secret House to claim the HM for Surf. This will be our primary water move moving forward, as it's 95 base power with Stab, and we have 100% accurate move, which is essentially at 140 power. That's huge for us. Hydro Pump will be stronger, but the 20% miss chance isn't something I really want to deal with, so we're going to rely with Surf on this run. With Surf taught to Tentacruel, we're going to test out how we do against Koga. His Venonats and Venomoth knowing Psychic could be a problem here. We do pretty well against the Venonats on our first try, but eventually the Venomoth hits us with a Psychic and finishes us off. I tried again because we did get crit by the Venomoth's Psychic, just to see how it's going, but yeah, it's not doing much better here. I mean, when you think about it, we are much lower level than all of Koga's Pokemon, and once you get put to sleep, it's essentially over. With Koga clearly not happening, we head over to Silphco, take on a few rockets to get some levels, and try out rival number 5. Sandslash is going to be a one-shot with Surf, and then Ninetales is going to come out and also will go down to a single Surf. Cloyster is much stronger than Shelder though, and our rival will only ever use Supersonic here thanks to his good AI. We avoid confusion damage, and 3 Surfs is enough to finish off Cloyster. Kadabra is out next, and this doesn't go great as we start off by hitting ourselves in Confusion before a Confusion crit does big damage. We are in red health before we take out Kadabra, and Jolteon then outspeeds us and hits us with a Thunder Shock to finish us off. I think there is an easy solution here though, so let's try that now on the rematch. Sandslash is the same with Surf, and then we're going to use Ninetales as a setup. The thing will only use Roar, a weak quick attack, or tail whip us, so it's essentially a free setup. We are now +6 attack for the rest of the battle. We finished off Ninetales with Surf, but then the downside to the strategy comes into play as we hit ourselves in Confusion twice, knocking ourselves out thanks to that boosted attack. So that's really annoying, but what are the chances we hit ourselves in Confusion to KO ourselves again? Well, Supersonic is only 55% accurate, so we could avoid Confusion altogether in 20% of the battles, and since Confusion has a 50% chance of not forcing us to hit ourselves, we should be able to do this okay, right? Wrong, because we get bad RNG luck multiple times in our attempts. This is one such attempt where even though we do so well to break through Confusion all the way up to Jolteon, where we had good health and then we got hit with a 4-turn pin missile and then we brought ourselves into range for a KO from Confusion damage, which of course we did. What a way to lose a battle. 6 more attempts later, we finally get a bit of luck to fall our way. It was only a matter of time after all, and while this could be considered a bit of a luck-based strategy, it isn't outrageous, so I feel okay moving forward with it. Sandslash and Ninetales are both still KOs with Surf, and we've still set up our Swords Dance. That allows us to sweep through his team pretty easily, and this time Jolteon goes for a Thunder Shock, and we're able to knock it out with a single Acid thanks to our boosted Swords Dance attack. That was a painful battle, but luckily our Jellyfish doesn't have to wait long to get some confidence back as we face Giovanni number 2. A crit from Surf takes out Nidorino, I don't think it mattered there, and then we one-shot Persian with Surf as well, and then we knock out Rhyhorn. I really can't remember the last time we outsped Giovanni's Persian to think about it. Anyway, we ended up sweeping Giovanni's team with Surf, and that was amazing. We didn't even let him get off a guard spec. So with Silphco saved, we dig out of the building from the highest floor, and while we're still in Saffron, let's try our luck with Sabrina. If we can outspeed and hit hard enough with Acid to take advantage of our team's weak defense, we might be able to make it. but we are still massively underleveled compared to her team. We're also going to have our accuracy lowered by Flash from Abra, and that's just not great. We're actually in a speed tie with this thing, which means Kadabra is going to outspeed us, and it hits Psychic for massive damage before finally finishing us off. On the next attempt, we're going to use a little bit of a different strategy and set up Sword Stance right away before our accuracy can get lowered too much, but it still gets dropped one stage before we take out Abra. We're back to Kadabra, and it does Gen 1 things as it goes for 3 full health recovers until we finally get an acid to connect for 1 KO. We've made it to Alakazam and we tank a Psychic only to get a critical hit with our acid, and that really hurts. Gen 1 giveth and Gen 1 taketh away there. The mechanics definitely played to our advantage, but also hurt us at the same time. On our next attempt, we get better luck still, and we don't have any accuracy drops heading into Kadabra. It goes for a recover, but we're able to eventually knock it out before we've taken any damage heading into Alakazam. It goes for a full health recover, and we're able to finish it off really quickly thanks to an extra Sword Stance at the beginning. That plus 6 stages made all the difference. And yeah, that allowed us to get our 5th badge of the run and gain the most useless TM in the game. So we obviously throw that away before we head back to Koga, as he is our only option at this point. Thanks to those extra levels we gained and maybe a crit, the first 2 Venonats are now 1-hit KOs. The third hangs on and Psychic does a bit of damage to us, just over 30, but we finish it off easily. Venomoth is out next, and Koga goes for an X attack as Surf takes it to red, but thankfully that Leech Life is not going to recover it enough to keep it in KO range, and we've now earned our 6th badge. So with the Soul Badge in hand, we can now surf outside of battles and head to Cinnabar Island to take on Blaine. Why we need a badge to use an HM outside of battle has always been a bit odd to me. Like, is it the Pokemon who don't respect us enough? Or is there some governing body that would catch us if we didn't have the proper badge? Or is this a self-imposed ban that our protagonist just doesn't feel comfortable using the move outside the battle until he has the right badge? And is this just a thing that if we were starting on Cinnabar Island, you'd instantly be soft-locked? Anyway, that's just a nice little rant to fill time as we answer Blaine's trivia questions, and I don't see him being challenging at all. Surf should make relatively short work of his entire team. A critical Surf, which may have mattered, takes out Ninetales to start, and then we outspeed Rapidash for a one-shot, leveling up to level 42. Arcanine hangs on, hits us with a Fire Blast, and burns us, but we're in no danger as we're able to finish off the Fire Dog and claim our 7th badge against Blaine. That was really easy, and now we're gonna jump ahead to the final battle against Giovanni 3, which also should be fairly straightforward. Dugtrio is a one-shot with Surf. Persian hangs on from a first Surf, but then a second Surf takes it out. We level up to level 44, Nidoqueen's out, and we're able to one-shot the first Nido, and the second Nido comes out, and Nidoking hangs on and nails us with an Earthquake for a one-shot. I was not expecting that. So on the next try, we're going to see if that's a range. Giovanni uses Guard Spec, which allows us to take out the Dugtrio, and then Persian hits a Slash for huge damage, and we are in trouble. Nidoqueen is still a one-shot with Surf, and now Nidoking comes out, and Surf one-shots. So it looks like it was a range, and we just got bad RNG on the first time, and we're easily able to knock out Rhydon with our Surf, and that's our 8th and final gym badge. So that was much more interesting than I expected. It is battles like this that keep me motivated to try out these runs in the first place. I would have thought that would have been an easy sweep, but the damage range made it interesting. We now have a full collection of gym badges so we can make our way to the Indigo Plateau, but of course we have to deal with Rival 6 first, and I'm a bit nervous after our challenge with Rival 5. Sandslash isn't a problem though, as a Surf one-shots it. Execute goes down to a single Ice Beam. The crit might have mattered there, but it wouldn't have been too challenging either way. We know Ninetales isn't much of a threat, so we can set up our Sword Stance, and we're also activating badge boosts this time now. So we take out Ninetales, and then Surf is doing just about half to Cloyster. We hit ourselves in Confusion, but luckily we don't hit ourselves in Confusion 3 times, but we have taken ourselves to red health in the process here. Unfortunately, we do hit ourselves in Confusion against Kadabra, and that's a KO, so we have to try again. We already knew that that could have happened, so we're gonna have to just try again. Sand Slash and Execute are the exact same, and we're still gonna set up against Ninetales, the only difference here being that we get hit with a Tail Whip, so we do get an extra badge boost. We take out Ninetales and Cloyster's back out, and we're still doing over half to the Cloyster, and we hit ourselves in confusion, and thanks to that Tail Whip, we did huge damage, taking ourselves down to red health. Luckily, we break through confusion to take out Kadabra, but now we've leveled up. But thankfully, Jolteon goes for agility, and then our rival uses a potion, and we're able to get the win. That is fantastic, but that doesn't bode well for our future of this run, as we still have 5 hardest trainers in the game, and we won basically because of some good luck and the fact that our rival has a potion because of the way that Gen 1 shares memory and the rival 1A battle and that rival 6 battle being the same. Anyway, let's jump ahead to the Elite Four where we arrive at level 46. You may notice that I didn't even deposit all our other team members for this attempt because honestly, I can't see a single way we win at this level. We snuck past our rival before and he's only gotten stronger. The other reason is, like the Horsey run, Lorelai's a wall when you have a water-type special attacker. We can use Swords Dance to boost our way past Dugong, and we did okay. We did surprisingly well against Cloyster too, and luckily the Slowbro didn't use Amnesia to take us out quickly, but we were able to finish it off only to get hit by a Thrash from Jinx, which finishes us off. So yeah, clearly we need levels to make this more consistent at this point. I optimistically try again at level 48 after battling a few trainers in Victory Road. We still haven't dropped off our other team members like normal because again, I'm not really expecting this to be successful. However, thanks to extra levels and being at a higher damage rounding threshold, a point where our attacks do significantly more damage than the previous level, we make surprisingly good progress. The strategy is largely unchanged. Set up against Dugong, take advantage of its love for using rest, then we surf down Cloyster, and we do incredible combination of luck against Slowbro. Acid ends up taking it down. After that, Jinx goes down thanks to not getting a crit this time, and we end up taking out Lapras too, and we've got a win against Lorelai really early on. That was a strange battle right now. I don't think it's going to be very consistent, but beating Lorelai at level 48, well 49 because we leveled at the end, is really good. I feel the strategy is pretty good for her, but maybe we'll need more levels later on to make it consistent. We'll just have to wait and see for now, but we're at the easiest Elite Four trainer in the game, Bruno, and normally Bruno's really easy, and when you have a water type, especially one with high special, Bruno may as well not even exist. One thing that is really good about this though, is that we leveled up right at the end of battle, which gives us a really interesting opportunity. It isn't to add Hydro Pump because with Surf we already have a Power Water move, and we don't need another one on our moveset. No, the real opportunity is that we can get extra level from our rare candies that otherwise we wouldn't have gotten. By waiting to use the rare candies until after Bruno, we will effectively be at level 60 with one rare candy remaining instead of level 59, if we would have used all these before Lorelai, that is. This was neat to see, and it will allow us to gain 10 levels heading into the Agatha battle. So after healing, we're ready for our battle with the Ghost/Poison Master. This battle starts poorly. Surf does over half to Gengar 1, which is great, but then we get hit with Confuse Ray, and we hit ourselves 4 times in a row. That is crazy bad luck, but I guess it's offset when Agatha sets up a substitute only to switch to Golbat the very next turn. I love Gen 1 AI so much. Anyway, we're able to hit ourselves for our 4th time before we end up taking out the Golbat with Ice Beam, finishing off the Gengar with Surf, and then taking 2 turns to finish off the Haunter, and a single Surf to finish out the Arbok. Gengar uses a Super Potion, and that allows us to end up actually beating Agatha after it went so poorly at the start. So yeah, that was really cool. Tentacruel is doing surprisingly well here. I thought we might struggle a bit because Agatha is very trolly, but our Surf hit her team really hard and it's effectively straightforward. That battle looked far from consistent, but it is still very promising that we've made our way to Lance. Since we have good special and an ice move, I think we match up pretty well as long as we get past the Gyarados. Our battle with Lance starts off with a 1 in 256 Gen 1 miss from Ice Beam, so that gives Gyarados a free turn to hit us with Dragon Rage. Thankfully, it doesn't follow up too many strong attacks, and we end up getting a 10% freeze chance. In Gen 1, there's really no way to unfreeze for Lance, so at this point, he heals with a retroactive Hyper Potion, but it doesn't matter because we eventually knock out the Gyarados. This lets us then take out the first Dragonair with an Ice Beam, and do the same on the second Dragonair. Now Aerodactyl's out, and we actually outspeed and one-shot that as well. Now we only need to defeat Dragonite, and Ice Beam is more than enough here. It's 4 times super effective after all, and Tentacruel defeats the Pokemon we did our last solo run with, and we've made it all the way to the champion on our second try at the league. This is really surprising, and I'm excited we might be able to make this run a really quick one. Our rival has been a big pain for us though, so I'm not placing Tentacruel in the Hall of Fame and adding it to the tier list quite yet. We're going to use our last rare candy to prevent leveling up as long as possible in the battle, heal up, restore PP, teach Mimic 2, and we're going to try to steal Earthquake from Sandslash. Will this work? Only one way to find out. Cue the champion's theme music and let's see how this goes. So, Mimic on Earthquake, and then we get hit by an Earthquake, and oh my goodness, that does so much damage. We're able to finish off the Sandslash, but if Earthquake doesn't take out Alakazam, we're going to be in trouble. And it doesn't. Psybeam finishes us off. Yeah, so that wasn't great, but what if we don't Mimic Earthquake? Well, we see here on the next attempt of the league when Sandslash gets knocked out with Surf, and then we find out that Acid is a 3-shot on Alakazam. That gives the Psychic type plenty of time to knock us out. Well, if you were worried that this run was going to end too quickly, you don't have to worry about that now. We're going to head to Celadon and pick up as many vitamins as possible, and that's going to give us the best chance at the league moving forward. Then we're going to give it another go. We don't really have too many other options at this moment, and it looks like we're going to be relatively close to beating our rival right now. We've ditched the rest of our team members at this point because I'm feeling it is possible to win now. Lorelei's up first, and she's still not very consistent. We are going to end up taking out the Dugong pretty reliably, but Cloyster can be a pain thanks to Confusion. As we've already seen, Swords Dance hitting ourselves in Confusion is a huge weakness for Tentacruel. Eventually, we are able to move past the Cloyster and make it to Slowbro. The only way we're going to make it past Slowbro is if it doesn't go for Psychic, and luckily this time it only uses Amnesia multiple times. Jinx is out, and we're able to take it out quickly, and then Lapras comes out. It hits us with a body slam to paralyze us at 5 HP, but somehow our jellyfish is able to prevail and get the win against Lorelei. While this clearly isn't a consistent battle right now, the fact that Lorelei's first makes this battle bearable in my mind. If we fail at the league, we fail fast. Bruno, Agatha, and Lance are really pretty consistent at this point, and the champion is reached on most attempts. The champion is another matter altogether though. We reliably take out Sandslash with Surf, but Alakazam is tough. I try Swords Dance, and we end up getting Kinesis to drop accuracy, which isn't ideal, but we do survive, and we crit with Acid, so we still don't know how much damage we're doing, but eventually we are going to be able to knock out the Alakazam. This is then going to bring in the Executor, and we find out that our Ice Beam isn't enough to take it out, and we get hit with Leech Seed in the process. That is essentially a death sentence as Cloyster comes out, because especially when we're missing, there is no chance that we're going to be able to do enough damage quickly enough to take out his giant oyster before we get knocked out by his Spike Cannon and Leech Seed damage. Eventually, we go down, and that's another loss to the champion. While this battle was frustrating, it's also pretty much the pattern for the champion battles. During our next attempt at the champion, we learn that Surf does more damage than Acid does when we hit Alakazam with it, but we still don't one-shot, so we get hit with Kinesis. Executor's out, and we miss an Ice Beam, and we're reminded that this Executor has Hypnosis. So that is not great, since we're in big trouble since Gen 1 Sleep is such a powerful status condition. We then get hit with Leech Seed, and although this thing isn't going to attack us with any other moves, it is going to take long enough for us to take this out thanks to misses that we are going to be in red health before we finally make it past the Walking Palm Tree. We will be able to set up 3 Swords Dances in the process because at this point it's pretty clear we're not going to actually get the win, so we're just gonna see if we can maybe learn a little bit more about maybe those 3 badge boosts giving us enough power to get by the Cloyster. Well, turns out we aren't gonna be able to figure that out either because our Surf misses thanks to the Kinesis. I've seen enough to know that Acid isn't strong enough, so we've replaced Mimic with Double Edge this time. And although I usually don't like this because of recoil damage, if it gets by Alakazam in one shot, it might be worth it. And we do, but that crit might have mattered. So although we are moving forward without any accuracy drops, we do still get put to sleep against Exeggutor, and then it hits us with Leech Seed. We wake up relatively quickly though, so we are able to take out the Exeggutor before it can do too much damage to us. Cloyster's now next, and we're looking like it's going to be a 2-shot, but Leech Seed will make it a 3-shot KO. We're able to hit it with our second Surf, and then we avoid a critical hit Spike Cannon, so we're going to have 66 health for the rest of this battle, and this is the farthest we've gotten so far. Ninetales is out now, and we're going to try to set up because we're going to need everything we can to beat the Jolteon. We end up going a little bit too long though, and we get hit with Confuse Ray. We're able to hit Surf on Ninetales, but Jolteon's out, we're confused, we hit ourselves in confusion, and that is enough to knock ourselves out. That was so close. It looks like we might have a path to victory here though. If only we can one-shot Exeggutor, we might actually stand a chance to consistently beat our rival. At least make it more likely to win. So after breezing through the Elite Four again because I don't save between Elite Four members, we are once again going to teach Double Edge, but also teach Blizzard in place of Ice Beam. It's 90% accurate in Gen 1, but it is an incredibly useful move because it is so powerful. Will it be enough to one-shot the Exeggutor though? I don't know. I think it's going to be very close. We're going to use a PP up on Blizzard too because we have it, and just in case we miss, I'd rather have more than we need. As the champion battle starts, you know the drill here at this point. Surf on Sandslash, and then we're going to go into Double Edge on Alakazam. But we run into a problem. This one doesn't crit, and Alakazam hangs on. So we are able to use another Double Edge, which takes out Alakazam, and we haven't had any accuracy drops. Blizzard doesn't one-shot Exeggutor. Oh man, this isn't looking good. Leech Seed basically means it's over now, and while we are able to defeat Exeggutor, Cloyster's out, and it's going to end up finishing us off between the Spike Cannon and Leech Seed damage. Gah. This is not going well at all. So clearly Tentacruel isn't ready for the champion at this point. It is close, yet so far away. I mean, we could win at this level if I got good crit luck and misses from our rival, but I'm not about to keep trying the league with a completely luck-based approach against our rival. Each attempt takes 3 to 5 minutes of real time, only to get squashed by the champ very quickly. So we're going to do some training at the Fighting Dojo, Victory Road, and other trainers around Kanto before giving it another attempt, and this will give us some extra levels that we're going to need for battles, but also stat experience for our stats so they'll be even higher. After all of this, we're coming into the league at level 53 instead of 48, and as you just saw, that Lorelei battle was much better. It was much more consistent, and we're able to tank hits a little bit better overall. Now that Lorelei is defeated and Bruno's up next, we're going to need all the levels we can to survive him. Yeah, actually that's a bit of an exaggeration. We already know he's going to be no threat at all. I mean, we cleared him up with a sub-level 50 Tentacruel. Obviously, we don't need to be level 64 here, but you may have noticed that we leveled up at the end of that Lorelei battle as well, and that wasn't by accident. We did that to make sure that we get the most levels out of our rare candies through experience point manipulation, which means we're going to be stronger heading into the champion battle, and I'm hoping this gives us a little bit of extra edge we need to get over the finish line. As we've seen before, Bruno is just as easy as promised. His first 4 Pokemon are all one-shots to Surf. Machamp does hang on, only using X-Defend, and that's an easy knockout. How did this guy even make it to the Elite Four? Probably the same way Surge got to be a gym leader, but with that easy battle over, we're back to the Agatha battle again. This battle is going to be a win about 80 to 90% of the time. Well, I'm guessing based on how this battle really goes. The main way we lose this is if we get put to sleep or hit ourselves in confusion a bunch. Unless we get a crit, her ghosts are 2 shots with Surf, but Surf can take out Arbok in 1 turn, Golbat can go down to a single Ice Beam. So it is relatively consistent as you would want a not one-shot sweep Agatha battle to be, and although it could go sideways with Sleep preventing us from attacking, since Agatha attacks randomly, Hypnosis is only 70% accurate. That means we would probably avoid Sweep in about 20% of battles, and if we wake up quickly, we could still win. Highly scientific, 80 to 90% estimate for a win. Anyway, as we've now filled that time between the Lance battles, we can see that the Lance battle is really straightforward. As long as we get past Gyarados, we can make it past the rest of his team. Hyper Beam was his best shot there, and it is scary. We would still tank a crit, so an Ice Beam sweeps the rest of his team, and we can now consistently make it back to the champion. But it isn't enough to just reach him, we need to beat him. We didn't quite level up after the Lance battle, so with less than 2,000 experience points to the next level up, we will level up after defeating Sandslash. So with this in mind, I decided to roll with it. We might be able to set up some at this point after knocking out our rival's first Pokemon, and having those boosts for the full battle is worth trying out. So, we are going to teach Double Edge in place of Acid, and then we're also going to teach Blizzard in place of Ice Beam. These will both give us a bit more attacking power, and hopefully that setup is going to be enough to get our Tentacruel over the finish line. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough though, because it is still going to be a tough battle. Anyway, let's cue up the Champions battle music for hopefully the last time and see if we can do this. We're going to start with Surf on Sandslash, and of course, then we're going to level up in the process. Alakazam is going to come out next, and like I mentioned earlier, I think Surf actually would be stronger here, but I was so focused on Double Edge, knowing it could crit for a one-shot, I didn't think that it might actually be viable. These are my first times playing through this, so there's definitely room for improvement. Anyway, after a full restore, we are able to take it out after a Swords Dance boosted attack, but now we're under half health, and we miss our first Blizzard against Exeggutor, and now we're dealing with Leech Seed for the remainder of the battle. Cloyster might be in 2-shot range though now, and as we go after that, it is enough. Cloyster is now a 2-shot, which is fantastic. Ninetales hits us with a quick attack, and we just have to go for Surf and hope that our Double Edge is going to be enough to knock out Jolteon, and it hangs on with just a sliver of health. Are you kidding me? That's so close. Leech Seed damage finishes us off after recoil damage, and that's another loss. That was so close. Well, we know it is close at this point, so the next time through I go for all rare candies after Lorelei. This will put us 1 level higher and maybe all we need. But because of that extra level, we also aren't going to level up until after the Alakazam. Will that make a difference? Well, let's find out. This battle goes really poorly and RNG doesn't treat us well. We get confused from a critical Psybeam from Alakazam, and then we hit ourselves, so we have 9 HP for the rest of the battle. Exeggutor's out, and then we hit ourselves in confusion, so we don't even get to find out if Blizzard would have been enough on a crit to knock out the Exeggutor. So, that was awful RNG luck. Let's give it another go here. Same as always, we start with Surf on Sandslash, and Alakazam's coming out. Droozee continues the tunnel vision approach of using Double Edge, and thanks to Double Edge doing recoil damage and the Alakazam eventually attacking us, we are going to be down 1 stage in accuracy and at almost 2/3 of our health gone before we make it onto Exeggutor. We hit Blizzard, and it still isn't a guaranteed one-shot. Hypnosis misses though, and we're able to get a Surf for the KO, but we have been hit with Leech Seed, so that pretty much means this battle is over, and eventually Cloyster is going to use Spike Cannon, and between that and Leech Seed damage, once again, we have lost to our rival. I tried this a few more times and it wasn't working, and it was incredibly frustrating. I mean, it does happen in these runs though. There's inherently a bit of luck involved in any challenge when you're trying to beat the game as quickly and as easily as possible. As clearly wasn't consistent enough for me to feel comfortable, I made the decision to head to the power plant to pick up the extra rare candy that lives there. We battled a few Voltorbs and Electrodes in the power plant too, so we're basically coming into the league the same as before, but with one extra rare candy. The Lorelei battle is a little different because of that, since we level up after Dewgong. But since we aren't relying on the badge boost glitch, and are actually using the attack boost from Swords Dance, this is still pretty simple. After setting up Swords Dance with Dewgong, and we sweep the rest of Lorelei's team with Acid. The exception being Cloyster, which we use Surf, but that's not too important. We avoid critical hits, we're going to win, and Lorelei is now extremely consistent. Now, instead of using all the rare candies now, I'm monitoring Tentacruel's experience after the battles to see if it makes sense to use them. We're very close to leveling up before the Bruno fight, about 1300 experience from level 55, so I'm not going to use them yet. This will help me understand if we can optimize the experience later if we need to. We already know that Bruno isn't really the person we're worried about though. With or without these extra levels, Bruno is a breeze for Tentacruel, and there's not much to say about that battle. A quick check on our experience, and we're 4,600 experience points from level 56. It's starting to get interesting here, but I think we can still beat Agatha, so I decided let's just go for it. From our past battles, we know Agatha can be a bit tricky, and most of her team is very close to one-shots, but not quite. I considered going for Swords Dance here to activate the badge boost glitch, but ultimately decided against it. It would give Agatha another turn to inflict the status on us, and that just wouldn't be great. Just like before, her ghosts are 2 shots with Surf, Golbat is a 1-shot with Ice Beam, and we level up before the Arbok, and Surf isn't quite a 1-shot, but it only goes for Screech. That means that as Gengar number 2 comes out, we get put to sleep, get hit with Confusion and Psychic. We're finally awake though, and we're able to break through Confusion and take out Gengar number 2. That battle was way closer than I was expecting it to be, and that last Gengar battle could have gone much worse with different RNG. That's mostly really how Agatha battles go though when you aren't sweeping your team. I'll take the win, but I'm not feeling great this is super consistent if we need to run through the league again. Anyway, I'm still feeling confidence against Lance. As we've seen before, we just need to make it past Gyarados and we're home free. We go for Ice Beam, he goes for Dragon Rage, and now we are going to 3-shot the Gyarados, and after that, it's now 4 straight Ice Beams on Dragonair number 1, Dragonair number 2, Aerodactyl, and finally Dragonite. We've earned ourselves another challenge with the champion, and we did end up leveling up in the process of that battle. If we hadn't grabbed the extra power plant rare candy, we'd be looking at level 68, which might actually be enough to beat our rival because it is at a new damage rounding threshold. But why would I waste this opportunity to stay at level 68 when we have such a nice level available to us? The other choice we need to make now is what moves we bring to the final matchup. Blizzard over Ice Beam is a pretty easy decision, but then I struggle to decide whether keeping Acid, teaching Double Edge, or using Mimic. Acid's safe, it doesn't do recoil, but it's the weakest move. Double Edge is strong, but has recoil. But I really like the idea of mimicking Earthquake, but we'd have to take it from Sandslash and we would do damage to ourselves and probably get knocked out from Alakazam anyway. I don't think we'd make it to the end of the battle, so I'm going to stick with the Double Edge strategy from before. Ultimately, I don't know if it actually would make too much of a difference because if we really wanted to optimize this, I think Surf is probably better. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think on this because I'm really still debating it even to this day after this run was completed a little bit ago. So we've got all of our preparations in place. All we have to do now is set up the Champions Battle music once again and attempt to make our way into the Hall of Fame. We know that this battle is going to be intense, but let's see if we can do it. We already know what the beginning of the strategy is. Surf against Sandslash, and it's going to be a one-shot. Now we're going to bring out Alakazam. We're going to go for Double Edge. It doesn't crit, so our rival uses a full restore. We set up a Swords Dance while we tank a Psychic with pretty good health left, and that's going to allow us to finish off Alakazam, but we are at about 1/3 health for the rest of this battle. Blizzard against Execute is enough for a one-shot thanks to that badge boost, and that means we are now avoiding Leech Seed. That could be good. Cloyster hits us with a 3-turn Spike Cannon, Surf finishes it off, and now we're on to Ninetales. We're going to go for one Swords Dance, and now we're into red. We're at +4 attack. Hopefully that's going to be enough against Jolteon, but I'm not sure if it is. Jolteon's out. Here's the moment of truth. We're going to go for Surf instead of Double Edge, hoping it does enough. Oh, we don't get it. But it only lasts 3 turns, and that means we survive with 8 HP, giving us enough to win the battle and beat our rival. We have just beaten the game with only Tentacruel and made our way into the Hall of Fame. That final champion battle was so much more difficult than I was expecting. The poison typing really made that difficult. With a few more levels, the fearless jellyfish was able to get the win. We finish at level 69 with a final in-game time of 5 hours and 43 minutes. A good chunk of that time came from preparing for the Elite Four because the jump in difficulty really made it hard on Tentacruel. We are now at the point of the video where we get to add Tentacruel to the tier list. The early and late game were not kind to Tentacruel, but it was dominant in the mid game. So what does this mean for today's protagonist? Well, it clearly is in the second tier here, and you could maybe argue that it's tier 2.5 now, but it really is about even with Horsey. I'm going to add it just in front of Horsey because even though it took a little bit longer to beat the game, there were definitely areas where my poor decisions in gameplay cost this Pokemon some valuable time. Okay, with Tentacruel's story arc all but wrapped up, it's time to go to the wheel once again to see what Pokemon will be coming next. As the wheel starts to slow down, we're gonna find out that we're gonna be using Bulbasaur. Nice! Good old Pokemon number 001. Surprisingly, this will be the first grass type that we've used in a Pokemon Yellow challenge so far. That is the nature of the wheel though. It's random and you never know what you're gonna get. Bulbasaur is also going to be the first time we're using a first of 3-stage Pokemon since the Weedle run. Hopefully this goes better than that run did. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and of course, if you did, like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the bell, all that good stuff. And until next time, I'm Droozee, and I hope to see you again soon.